I honestly don't know why I haven't been using this Warlock build since about a year ago, but ever since finding out and reading about this build online, this build has definitely been one of my most favorite builds to use over the past couple days. To break this build simply down into a few words while you are watching the gameplay in the background, this is pretty much one of the best support Warlock builds that you can use in any encounter in the game to support your fire team. To put it simply, this is my infinite Song of Flame build, and I literally mean pretty much infinite. Now you're probably wondering, why do you want to be in your Song of Flame forever? Well, let me break it down for you. 1, you get a massive damage resistance to you and your allies. 2, you are also infinitely radiant while you are in your Song of Flame to you and your allies. And on top of that, all of your solar weapons will apply Scorch to enemies, meaning more ignitions, meaning more damage. On average, using this build, my Song of Flame is lasting at least 1 minute, scaling all the way up to 2 minutes. In this first clip you were seeing, this Song of Flame lasts for around 1 minute and 15 seconds, and that is only because the ads run out. Now there is one condition that allows you to stay in your Song of Flame, and that requires a constant wave of ads. As long as you can keep killing enemies, you can keep your Song of Flame up and active and running. Now not only is this build amazing when you have your super, but it is also super effective when you don't have your super. And the way I've designed this build is that you can get your super back after it's run out in a mere 20 to 30 seconds, as long as you play your cards right and use the right mods and fragments. Now the exotic that we're going to be using in this build is the Mantle of Battle Harmony exotic chess piece. Now this exotic chess piece does 2 things for us. The first one is what makes this build what it is. Final blows with weapons matching your equipped super damage type grant you super energy. So this is our number 1 reason why we can stay in our Song of Flame and keep getting chunks of our super back, is by getting kills with solar weapons, because obviously Song of Flame is solar. And the second thing that this exotic does for us is when our super energy is full, we instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that type. Now this damage boost is around a 25% damage boost to solar weapons. Now this is a nice little damage boost, but unfortunately we won't realistically be taking too much advantage of this damage boost because we want to be using our super as much as possible to be radiant and also have a massive damage resistance from Song of Flame. So anytime we do get our super, we're pretty much just going to want to use it as soon as possible. Now since this is technically a Warlock support build where you will be helping your allies, my choice of solar weapon that I've chosen is the No Hesitation. Now this is obviously the support frame auto rifle that allows you to heal your allies. And honestly, this auto rifle is definitely an S tier gun that allows you to heal your allies and also heal yourself if you run the right perks on it. Now in my opinion, the gold roll for this gun in the first column is obviously Physic, and in the second column we want to be running Incandescent for a little bit of damage boost. So pretty much whenever you're killing ads, the Incandescent here will definitely help you get a lot of more ignitions off and also apply more Scorch through both your super and also the Incandescent perk. This will cause a lot of ignitions and do quite a bit of damage. And obviously with the Physic perk here, whenever you do heal your allies by hip firing, you're also going to heal yourself, which is just overall amazing. Now another little sneaky tip here that makes this build on top of this even better, and the main reason why I have chosen the No Hesitation is because of its origin trait Dealer's Choice. Now as this trait states, final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of super energy. Equipping multiple weapons from the Pale Heart increases this effect. Now, obviously, if we equip 3 of these Pale Heart weapons with the Dealer's Choice perk active, this is going to increase that super gains by quite substantial amount. So pretty much whenever you are running this build, I would highly recommend running 3 Pale Heart weapons, obviously with the Dealer's Choice origin trait. Now, because the No Hesitation goes in the energy slot, I would highly recommend running the Call in the kinetic weapon slot, as the Call is one of the best weapons in the game, and if you do ever come up against yellow bars, you can quickly pull the Call out, deal a good amount of chunk damage, and then make sure you get the final blow with the solar No Hesitation to give you more super energy. Now in the power weapon slot, there are plenty of weapons from the Pale Heart that you can choose from. However, one of my favorite weapons to use is the Pro Memoria, one of the best machine guns in the game. Now, like I said earlier in the video, this build heavily revolves around you being in your super and obviously giving damage resistance, giving you and your allies a damage boost with Radiant, and also the ability to scorch enemies and deal decent damage. However, when you don't have your super, this build is still also extremely effective, but with the help of the Dealer's Choice, you can actually get your super back incredibly fast. As you can see on the screen right now, if you watch my super bar, you can just see that super bar absolutely chunk just off killing a few enemies, giving me about 80% of my super energy back on return, and this is all thanks to the Dealer's Choice perk, allowing us to just get back into our super extremely quick. Now, for some reason, if there aren't as many enemies as there is on your screen, or you aren't getting as much super energy back, it's all good. Just get your Phoenix Dive out, get your Hellion out there and you can deal some incredible damage to enemies and cause some massive ignitions. With the help of the Call, you can deal massive chunk damage to any mini bosses or yellow bars, and overall this build is still extremely useful when you aren't in your super. Now since we've covered all of the weapons and the Warlock exotic and pretty much how this build works, let's jump over into the Warlock subclass and show all the aspects and fragments and abilities that we're going to use to make this build what it is. So starting off here, obviously we're going to be running the Song of Flame super. Jumping over into the abilities, I really like Phoenix Dive as it is the shortest cooldown class ability that the Warlock has, and overall this just works very well with the Warlock class. It gives you Cure, and then also we're going to be running Hellion, so every time we Phoenix Dive, we can then get a Hellion. So this is very effective here. As for the melee, I run Arcane Needles because we are going to be running a lot of light damage from the Hellion, from our, solar weapons and our Song of Flame. We're going to be getting a lot of light Transcendence energy, so we're just going to throw Arcane Needles in here to make sure that we can get a little bit of Darkness Transcendence energy as well. As for the grenade, it's pretty much up to you. I run Storm Grenade because it does a lot of damage, but if you feel like you need more Darkness Transcendence energy, you can run the Threadling Grenade, but as for now, just Storm Grenade is fine. On the aspects, like I said, Hellion is one of the best aspects you can get. It helps get Scorch stacks out there, it gets ignitions, it does a lot of damage. Overall, it's a great aspect to run. And the other one is Feed the Void. Feed the Void is pretty much just an instant pick for every single Warlock build. Devour is far too good to not have on literally every Warlock build, so Feed the Void is amazing here. Jumping down here into the 5 fragments. In the first column, I've chosen Sacrifice. Pretty much whenever we have a light buff, we're going to get bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. As I said before, because we're using a lot of light things like solar weapons, Song of Flame, Hellion, we're going to be getting a lot of lightness Transcendence energy, and we really need a little bit more darkness. So every time we have a light buff, which we pretty much will have from, Restoration, Cure, all of that, Radiant, it's all going to be happening. We're going to pretty much be getting a Darkness Transcendence energy pretty much 24/7. As for the second one, I'm running Hope. Pretty much whenever we have an elemental buff, we regenerate our class ability more, which allows us to use our Phoenix Dive more, giving us Hellion more active, and pretty much up 24/7. So again, elemental buffs for the solar subclass include Cure, Radiant, Restoration, which we will have pretty much all the time and get them whenever we need. The facet of Generosity also is amazing. Whenever we are Transcendence, we just create orbs of power for our allies, which means they can use supers, and then get us more orbs for more supers. Overall, this is just a great fragment to use. The facet of Ruin is also amazing to run here as it increases the damage and area of effect of our solar ignitions. And finally, the facet of Dominance. For whenever we are in our Transcendence, whenever we do throw out our grenade, it will weaken the enemy. This is very important. I pretty much run this in every Prismatic build that I use, as weakening enemies is just free extra damage. Jumping over into the mods here, on the helmet, I like to run double Solar Siphon, as our main weapon of killing enemies will be the No Hesitation, so we can generate more orbs of power. On the gloves here, Fastball, I just feel like I can't play the game without it, and Firepower and Heavy Handed. This pretty much means whenever we get grenade kills or, powered melee kills, it's going to spawn orbs of power for you and your allies. These are very, very important, for armor charges and getting our super back. On the chest piece, just run, whatever resistance mods you need for said activity. That one's pretty simple. If you don't want resistance, you can then also run reserve mods. That's up to you. On the boots here, Recuperation, Better Already, and Orbs of Restoration. Pretty much every time we pick up Orbs of Power, it's A, going to give us ability energy for the ability with the least amount of energy. Also, it's going to give us, it's going to help us give health back and then also start our shield recharge. And then finally, on the bond tier, I like to run Reaper and Distribution. These two work extremely well together, especially when we're using Phoenix Dive and Hellion. Every time we Phoenix Dive, we're going to guarantee a Orb of Power on our next weapon kill, and it's also going to reduce all of our abilities every time we do Phoenix Dive. And since we're going to be Phoenix Diving a lot, these two work extremely well together. And as for the stat distribution, obviously 100 resilience is very, very important. Intellect isn't too important. You can try and get this to 100 if you want, but I've opted for around 60, and pretty much recovery and resilience, you want to get these as high as possible, but the main one is obviously getting 100 resilience. But anyway, Guardians, that pretty much wraps the video up there. This is a pretty fun and effective build to stay in your Song of Flame for, as long as you possibly can, as long as there are ads around. And the Mantle Battle Harmony is actually a pretty decent exotic. Now, I understand this isn't as effective as some of the other ones like the Heal Turret build, but is still a pretty decent and fun build to have fun with. But anyway, Guardians, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know how you would twist and turn this build. Hope you Guardians are having fun in the Revenant episode, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.